Hello everyone, this is part 3 of coding adventures in Python and TwilioQuest. Let's finish up. So, let's do this next one right here. Okay, create functions that can accept arguments to change how the function behaves. Okay, so we're gonna have to define a function called hailFriend, and it needs to output hail, whatever name that you put in, and you're gonna add you're gonna add an exclamation mark. So let me show you how we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna open up a new Python file. So I'm gonna open up the shell and open a new file. And for example, I'm gonna define a function. And remember, to define a function, you write def, and we're gonna name this who are you, and we're gonna accept an argument, and it's gonna be a name. Okay, so what do we want this function to do? We want the function to return, we want to say hail, comma, space, the name that you entered, and then you're going to add a exclamation mark. So I'm going to make a variation of what you need to do, and then you're going to figure it out. So what I want to do in my function, I want to write who are you, and then name, and I want to add a question mark. So in order to do this function, who are you, we're going to print, let's write print, and we're going to put in an F string. Okay, an F string allows us to input different variables. So first of all, I want to say who are you. Let's say who are you, and then I want the name to follow that. So let's close this. This is going to be a string right here. Who are you? We're going to put name. And at the end, I want to add a question mark. Okay, but I have to close this whole F string right here. I made a small error in the syntax. The quotation mark should go here. Notice we have the F and then the quotation mark followed by what we want to write. Who are you, comma, and then name. So whatever argument you pass here, and it'll show up right here, and then hopefully this function will print out who are you, comma, whatever name that you input with a question mark at the end. So let's run this. Let's bring over the shell, and now to call this function, we'll type it out, who are you, and then we'll provide an argument. Notice it says name there, so we'll say Bob. Okay, close parentheses, and notice here it says who are you, Bob, and it worked. So modify this code. So where it starts off hail, comma, space, notice I have who are you. Okay, you would put in hail, add in the name, and then the exclamation mark. So I am going to type in the correct answer, and then I'm gonna try to hack. Alright, awesome. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so what's this here? So hit spacebar over here. That's cool. Now we can't go through this wall here. I'm gonna save this one for last. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna save this one for last. Let's go and finish this one all the way over here. Okay. Python initiation, list iteration. Learn to write code that processes a list of objects. Okay, so we want to write in the command prompt. We want to run Python, and these are the arguments passed. This is the first one, the name of the file, and we want these names to come out in this list right here. So I'm going to show you an example, and you're going to figure out how to do that. So let's open a new file, and I'll call this one okay, this is list iteration. Okay, so remember, it's helpful to read through the objective and the help. So let's go over here, and it'll give us a starting point. Here we go. Again, we've seen this before. We import the sys module that allows us to interact with the operating system. order of succession. This is a an object that we named, and we're declaring it whatever arguments we pass into the command prompt. And then here, order of succession dot pop. Remember, 0 would be the first one, so we're gonna remove the first item. The first item that's gonna be passed will be the name of the file, as you can see over here. Okay, this is the name of the file. So pop basically removes that. Okay, it removes this, and then it begins to iterate through each and every object. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to print it out. So let's open a new file. We can copy and paste this right here. Okay, copy and paste. I'm gonna delete these comments here. Okay, so let's make a list. So we'll say first item equals sys.argv. So first item would be the first argument passed. Okay, let's copy and paste this. Let's make this one second. Yes, second. But this time this will be number 2. Let's do third. This will be 3. And finally fourth. Oops. Item 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so let's open up the command prompt. Okay, and let's navigate to the Twilio folder where we're storing all of our work. So we're in here. We want to go to desktop. Then we want to go to Twilio. Okay, so remember, to open Python will be Python 3. And then the next argument would be the name of the file. So they want us to name it list iteration. So we haven't made it yet, but again, I'm going to show you an example of what they want. They want this, and then we want to pass in. We're going to pass in 4 items, and they're going to print it out here. Okay. So let's do this. So we're going to write a for loop, and I'll show you what this means. Let's say for item in sys.argv. Okay. Okay. So this for is initiating a for loop, and what a for loop does is we're gonna do something for every single item. So this is what saying for item, and this is whatever we want it to be. This can be X, this can be Y, this can be literally whatever, for whatever insists. But so to make the code simple and readable to know what we're talking about, I'm gonna call it item, because we're gonna talk about items here. So what do I want to do for each item that I want to do? So remember, each item is each argument that I pass here. Okay, the first argument that I pass, the second argument that I pass, third and fourth, and here I'm gonna say for each item I want you to print out each item. So we'll write print. Okay, print. We'll say item. Okay, and then we're gonna run this now. Okay, so we'll run module. And let's call this example, and we'll put it in our Twilio folder because that's where we are. Okay. Now, let's go into here. Now here, I'm gonna write 4 items, and it should print out a list. Right? So we'll say apples, oranges, pears, grapes. And once I press enter, it should print out each one of these items, because here's the for loop. For every item that I pass, I want each item to be printed out. I want apples, oranges, pears, grapes. So let's press enter. Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry. So I called it list iteration. I called this example. So let's do that again. Okay, so I made a small mistake in my code here. Originally, I had this 1, 2, 3, 4, but I forgot that since I'm popping the first argument, which is the name of the file, this becomes 0 now. And it gave me a error that said out of range. That meant that I gave too many system arguments over here, and I failed to write an extra one. So Python was like, wait a minute, your file is telling me there's another argument that's supposed to be here, and it's not there. So as you can see, I tested it, but this time I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arguments, and it was able to print it out. So the problem was over here was the indexing over here. Okay, so let's see what we have here. So let's compare it to the answer. I'm sorry, let's compare it to what they want. Okay, so this is not quite what we want here though, because we want a numbered list here. Okay, so I'll show you how to put in a numbered list there. So we're gonna change this up a little bit over here. So instead of just printing the item, let's put an F string, because we want to insert different things here. We want to insert numbers. Okay, but first of all, let's go ahead and make that item. I like to put it at the top of the list. I'm gonna write num equals 1, and this is gonna be the beginning of our list. And then after each iteration, I want it to add 1. So I want it number 1, 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. So we're gonna start at 1. Let's delete this here, and we're gonna write an F string. Okay, here's F, and then first of all we're gonna put num. Okay, so num equal, so this is 1 right here, and we're gonna add a dot there, and I could put a dot here because it's falling in between the parentheses. So num dot, and then we're gonna also put the first item, which is gonna be apples. So what is it? First item. Okay, close that, and now we can close the whole string. Okay, and then close the print statement. Okay, now here we're saying we're gonna print number 1, and we're gonna print the first item, right? But this still doesn't work. Let me show you what this does here. Let's save this, and we're gonna run this again. So we have 1 apples, apples, apples. Okay. Notice it has 4 arguments, 1, 2, 3, 4, and for each argument, I'm printing out the number, and I'm printing out the first item. So notice that's not it yet. I have to add more things here. Okay. First of all, I have to make this number go up by 1, and how do I do that? I can write num equals num plus 1. But there's a much easier way to write this whole thing here. We're going to write num plus equals 1. And this is going to make this number 2 now. So now we need to make another print statement, and we need to make this number 2, and we need to make this the second item. So how do we do that? We'll do our F string, F, and we're going to write num. Now this should be 2 already, because I added 1 to it. Okay, we're going to add the dot, and now this time, instead of first item, of course, we're going to put second item. Second item. And close the F string. Okay, and we have to finish this up. We have to write third item, and we have to write fourth item. So again, this is number 2. Now we want to add 1 more to make it number 3. So what do? We write num plus equals 1. And now the num should be 3. Let's write our print statement. Print F string. So we're going to write num, that should equal 3. Dot. Second item now. I'm sorry, third item. Close. Okay, and 1 more. Num plus equals 1. Okay, so again, here's our last one. Print F string. So here's a num. This should be number 4. item. Okay, and now this is all complete. At the very bottom, we're gonna write break, and this is gonna stop this for loop. Sometimes if we don't break the loop, it'll keep going and going and going. It'll keep adding plus. It'll keep going plus equals 1, so it'll go in infinite. It'll keep going 1 1 1 1 1, and we don't want that. So break. This will stop all that. So let's save this here. Okay, and now let's run this again. And we have exactly what we wanted. We will have a list, a numbered list, 1 2 3 4. We have our items, apples, oranges, pears, grapes, and that's exactly what they want here. So again, you're gonna have to modify this code here. Actually, I don't even think you do have to modify it. You can probably use this here and it should work, because again, we're taking system arguments here. I'm just putting in different instead of names, I'm putting items. Okay, so let's try to hack now. Let's see. List iteration. Answers. Okay. Alright. Next. Alright, booleans. Cool. Okay, so let's open a new file. So I'll show you what to do here. So I'm actually going to show you the answer here. So if you don't want to see the answer, fast forward, or you can stay with me and see what to do. But again, if you don't want to see the answer, I suggest you go to the next chapter. Try to figure it out yourself here by reading this. We're simply writing statements and we're setting it to true or false. And we're going to write an if block to check a condition. So we're going to import the sys module again. So let's first of all, we're going to set greetings, and we're going to set that to whatever arguments we pass here in the command prompt. So we'll write sys.argv, sys.argv. So here we go. This is our item, and greetings is anything that we pass into here in the command prompt. So all we have to do here is set these objects to true or false. So Python is glorious. Python is glorious. And we're simply going to put equal to true. Okay. I'm going to copy and paste the rest of them. Failure is an option. Okay, and we're going to set that to false, and then we're going to set proper greeting, set that to false as well. Now we're going to write we're going to write an if statement. Proper greeting. Okay, so this is how we write a conditional statement. And let's say if sys.argv, we're going to say the first argument passed. Let's use this as an example. The first argument passed the first argument passed after the name of the file. So sys.argv0 will be the name of the file. But that's not what I want to work with. I want to work with the next argument that's passed. So that would be number 1. So if the first argument that you write here is equal to, so we're going to write here the difference between here. We're going to set, using the equal sign, we set things here. Like this is true, this is false. Okay. The equal sign is simply saying, hey, greetings is equal to this. Okay. Python is glorious is equal to true. Okay, but now by putting a double equal sign, this is saying if this is equal to. Okay, so if system argument, if the first argument, if this is for the glory of Python, so we're saying if this statement is the first argument that's typed. So if we type out for the glory of Python, they want to set the proper greeting to true. So notice how proper greeting is starting off at false. we want to set that to true if in fact the first argument that you pass is this exact string. So let's type that out. So if the first argument for, and type this out correctly, for the glory of Python, exclamation mark, and we have to put a colon. So this is the proper syntax. Okay, if the first argument that's passed is equal to this, then we're gonna set proper greeting to true. So here we'll say proper greeting equals true. Okay, notice I didn't put a double equal sign. We're saying that if this equals for the glory of Python, we're gonna set that. If I put a double equals, I would be saying if this is equal to, we're asking another question, if proper greeting is equal to true, but we're not saying that. We want to set it. We're saying yes, proper greeting will equal true. Okay, and let's test this out. So we're gonna save this. We'll save it. I already have the file here, so let me go ahead and I'll close this out because I have it all saved. I don't want to save. And let me go ahead and put it this iteration booleans. Okay, so now let's go to the command prompt to test it. So notice I'm still in my Twilio folder, and the name of the file is called boolean, so make sure you call it boolean. So I'm gonna open Python 3. I want to open booleans.py. Remember, this is the first argument that's passed, and remember the next argument should be this, and we want to set proper greeting to true. So let's type that out. For the glory, that's glory of Python. Make sure you do it correctly. Okay, and it should set to true. Now you won't see that here. Okay, so let's click hack. Make sure you have the file in your Twilio folder, and you should work. Awesome. We're almost done. What's next? Conditional logic. Okay, so alright. So again, read through all of this. Let's work on the next piece of code. Alright, so the name of this is called branching. Okay. Let's finish this here. So again, I'm going to show you the answer here. I'm going to write this out. Try to figure it out yourself. Pause it. If you're having trouble, you can go ahead and take a look at the answer. So let's write out a new file. Open a new file. Okay. So what are we going to start with? Again, these objective and help, very, very useful. Definitely read through everything. You might be able to do this by yourself if you read through everything. I'm simply here to help you. Alright, so again, let's get started. Alright, so first let's import the sys module. Okay, so we want, let's see, so they want the sum of numbers. If the sum of the numbers is less than or equal to 0, it'll print this out. If it's between 1 and 100, including 100, and this is important, it'll print out this. If it's greater than 100, it'll print out this. Okay, so this is what's going on here. So first of all, let's use so we want to open this file called branching, and we want to take these two numbers and add it together. Okay, so for example, if 30 plus 200, that's 230, that's greater than 100, so then it's going to pass, it's going to print out this. Okay, if it's between 1 and 100, it'll print out this, and if it's less than or equal to 0, we'll print out this. So this will be our first argument pass, this will be our second argument pass, and we're going to have to add these together. So let's do that. So let's go ahead and create these objects. So the first number should be the first argument that's passed, and I showed you how to do that. The first number is sys.argv1. Remember, sys.argv0 is the name of the file. We don't want to work with the name of the file. We want to work with the next argument that's passed. Okay, so the first number would be the first argument. The second number would be the second, sys gv. This will be number 2. Okay, and then we want to add these together, and we're gonna write, let's say, sum. Now notice we can't use the word sum. This is, I mean, we can, but we don't want to overwrite it. This is a reserved keyword. Okay, this basically takes two, I think 2 integers and adds them together. I could be wrong though. Anyway, so sum to use. We're gonna make our own object, sum to use, and we're gonna add those two together, right? So the first argument plus, oops, the second argument. Okay. Oh, sorry. I don't need to do that. I already made these items here. Oops. So we'll write first num plus second num. So since I already created these two objects here, I can use these variables. I don't need to type out the exact thing that it is because I declared it as first number. Okay, so let's go ahead. So we're gonna write these out here. So if the sum is less than or equal to 0, so we'll write if the sum, and what's the sum? Sum to use. If sum to use is less than or equal to 0. So this is the less than symbol, and this is the equal. So this would just be less than 0. We don't want that. We want it less than or equal to 0, colon. All right, so what do we want to execute if it's below 0? We want it to print this. Okay, so let's print that out. Print. Remember, this is a string. We can go ahead and copy this here to make it a little faster. Okay. Now, we also want to make another if statement because there's more conditions. It's not just checking if it's less than or equal to 0. We also want to do this, and we also want to do this. So to add another if statement, we will write elif. Okay? So now we want to write if the sum of the numbers is between 1 and 100. So how do we do that? If sum to use, so that's sum to use. Remember, we're using sum to use because sum to use would be the sum of those numbers, right? If sum to use, now we're going to say 1 through 100. So we want to pick a range of numbers between 1 and 100, and we want to include 100, and we could use the built-in range function. So we'll write range, and here this is the syntax. So for example, if it says range start, stop, step. So for example, if I wrote, let's say start 1, we stop at 10, and we'll go in steps of 2. So this range is basically, we'll start at 1 and we'll end at 10, but we'll go 2. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9, and it wouldn't include 10 because 9. See, let's go ahead and let's put that in the shell. So let's print this out. Copy. Oops. Okay, we don't want to print it. We want to list it. Thank you. Okay, so again, this is what I was talking about. You start at 1, you stop at 10, and you go into steps of 2. So we'll start at 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and notice it does not include 10. Okay, so that's not what we want. We want a range between 1 and 100. We don't need to include a step because we want every single number from 1 and 100. So let's put this away, and instead we'll write range We'll start at 1. Now if I write 1 to 100, it'll stop at 100 and it won't include 100. So this will give me 1 to 99. Let me show you. Okay, see, I want to include 100. So I want to go to 101. It won't include 101. It'll go before that. So this needs to be 101. Okay, so what do we want to print if we fall in between 1 and 100? Let's go back to where we were. I could just do it from here. Print string. Okay, and I'm going to copy and paste it. Okay, we need one more. So notice it does the indenting for you. Okay, this is very important that they have to be indented. And I'm going to start my other elif statement, and notice I'm going to start right here in line with the others. Elif. Oops. Let's put a space just to make it nice. Now, what's the last one? If the sum of the numbers is greater than 100. So, elif sum to use is greater than 100. So this is the greater than symbol. Okay, what do we want to happen? What do we want to happen? We want to print you have chosen the path of excess. Okay? And this is basically what it is. Let's test it out. So we'll go save. We'll call this test. I'm going to test it out. Now let's go to the command prompt and test this out. So I'm still in my Twilio folder. So let's go Python 3. Python 3. Test.py. And we got to give two numbers. We'll do 1 and 2. So 1 plus 2 equals 3. And 3 is 1 through 100. So it should print out you have chosen the path of plenty. Or not. I forgot to put in here. I'm sorry. This is incorrect here. So I'm sorry. This is something that I forgot to put. Okay. Let me show you what in means. Okay. So let's make a list. List to use is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So here's our list. 4 in list to use. So I'm asking, is 4 in this list here? And it should say true because it is. Okay, let's try 5. 5 in list to use. And this should give me back false. So this is what the in. This checks if whatever is in the next item. So this should work here. Okay, so make sure to put in the word in here. This is something that I forgot. Let's save it. And let's try this again. So here, I did not convert these into integers. Oops. So let's go ahead and do that. How do we convert things into integers? Int. Int. Okay, so now it should work. Let me show you again what int does. So let's say number, and we'll call it a string of 4. Okay, we're gonna change this into the actual number 4, not the string 4. So we'll write int number, and it changed it from a string to 4. Okay, if we want to change it back, we'll write string str number, and it'll give me back a string. So very sorry for those mistakes, but in making mistakes we learn. So let's try this one last time. Hopefully it'll work. Save. Okay. Here it goes. There we go. It works. Okay. So let's put a number greater than 100. We'll put 200 here. You have chosen the path of excess. So my code works. And there we go. Okay. What is this here? Let's see. The Fizzbuzz challenge. This one is challenging. If you want to look at the answer, please continue. If you don't want to see the answer, pause or skip past this. Again, reading through all of this will help you get to the answer. So let me show you how to figure this out. We'll create a new file. So of course, again, we'll import the sys module. And then we're going to make an object to represent the arguments that you're passing in. So we'll call them inputs. And that's going to be, notice input is a reserved keyword. We don't want to use inputs. And we're going to call this the argument that we pass. sys.argv. Okay, so now in this case, we want to pop off the first argument because fizzbuzz.py is a file. It's not divisible by 3 or 5. It doesn't apply and might crash your program. So we're going to pop this. So inputs, pop. And what are we popping? The very first argument, which is the name of the file. So here we're going to write a for loop. So we'll say for inputs in inputs. So for each argument that's passed, for each number, for inputs and inputs, we're going to change it into an integer. Inputs equals int to make sure we are working with numbers. Okay. And now, if inputs %3, I'll explain this in a second. Let me just type out the whole code. 0 and inputs %5 is equal to 0. So what I'm saying here is if this number divided by 3 gives you no remainder, so if let's say 3 divided by 3 is 1 and with no remainder, that means it's divisible by 3. So if a number divided by 5 again gives you no remainder, it's divisible by 5. So if I put in 2 here, if a number, whatever I put in, if the number is divisible by 2 and it gives you no remainder, it is divisible by 2. So here, if I'm saying if a number is both divisible by 3 and 5, 3 and 5, then we're going to print out Fizzbuzz. Print Fizzbuzz. Okay, so let's do another statement now. To do another statement, we'll put elif. So here, we're going to put divisible by 3. So if inputs divisible by 3 is equal to 0, colon, what are we going to do? We're going to print fizz. Okay, we're going to put another one. Elif inputs divisible by 5. What are we going to print? Buzz. Buzz. Okay, and now we also have to put, here, we'll write this here, else. So we're going to write, we're saying here for each input, we're going to go through each list and we're going to do something to that list. For every item, for every input in that list, we're going to check if it's divisible by 3 and it's divisible by 5, we're going to print Fizzbuzz. Now, here, I'm going to show you something else here. If I write the word or, I would be saying here if the inputs is divisible by 3 or it's divisible by 5. So this would be incorrect because either condition would be true, but we don't want either condition to be true. We want both of these conditions to be true. So that's why we write here and. Okay, it's a reserved. Notice it's a reserved keyword. So we're saying if both of these are true, then print Fizzbuzz. If divided by 3, print Fizz. If it's divided by 5, print Buzz. Now, if it's not divisible by anything, we just want to give it back to me. Just print out the number. So we'll write print inputs. Okay. We'll save this as example 2. And now we're going to go in the command prompt and we're going to test this out. Example 2.py. And we'll write 30, 200, 7, and 6. So here we go. It worked. Okay, 30, 200, 7, 6. Okay, exactly what I wanted. Okay, so let's save this as, they want this to name this, okay, Fizzbuzz. So let's make sure, we'll go to Twilio, Fizzbuzz. Okay, and now let's pick up this note. Alright, 8 of 9 clues. The last one's right here. Let's go get the last one. Okay. Function return value. So return data from your functions after your function processes the input. Okay, so let's define a function called add numbers, and we want it to take 2 integers. So we wanted to take two arguments. So we'll name those 2 arguments A and B. And we wanted to return, oops, colon, I forgot the colon. We wanted to return the sum of those 2 numbers. So we'll take A plus B. So what this says, we'll define a function, we'll call it add numbers, we'll take 2 numbers, both A and B, and we'll take that and we'll return A plus B. Let's see if that works. So add numbers. Excellent. It took both of the numbers and it added together. Add numbers. And let's try 100 and 200. Very good. Okay, so we'll save it in our Twilio folder. Okay, it's there. Plus hack. Awesome. And we're all done. Oh, wait. Not quite. We do have all the clues. Now we can go and solve the last puzzle. So let's make our way back to the beginning. And now we can figure this out. Now since we have all the clues, here are all the clues here. Okay. To solve the puzzle, you need to trace a continuous line between letters. Up, down, left, right, or diagonally to spell a 5-letter English language word. So I'm going to let you try to figure this one out. I'm going to go ahead and type in the answer because I've done this before. I have typed in the correct 5-letter word. Hopefully you have found it too. And I was able to get the Staff of Pythonic Knowledge. So that ends our adventure. I hope you had a good time. I definitely did. And I hope to see you in our next adventure. See you later.